Well, you know, there is a new appreciation in my country for the richness of diversity that can be gained from a deeper dialogue with the Native American traditions. And you will find a growing sense in the United States of how much Americans have to gain by learning more about these varied traditions. And
Yes, I've been traveling around a little bit together with Bob on some of these reservations. And one of the major issues, which I suppose is the hot political potato, is the MRS, the monitored removable storage of nuclear waste.
Mm-hmm. I've been talking to different business acquaintances of mine, and I'm really appalled at their attitude. They say things like, we have to get rid of it somewhere. Why not Indian land? Who cares? I mean, let science solve this problem in the future. It's been studied thoroughly by the government. We accept that. Let's just dump it there. What do you think about, the concept of environmental racism?
I have been the principal sponsor of a bill called the Environmental Justice Act in the House of Representatives. The other half of our legislative branch, John Lewis of Atlanta, has been the principal sponsor there. And as a result, I've learned a good deal about the problem, and it's no great mystery. Those who have relatively less political power and economic power have always been more vulnerable to having waste sites of all kinds in their midst. Trash dumps around the world are much more likely to go in areas where poor people live or where minority populations are found. And the nuclear waste controversy is a more exotic form of the same basic problem. You can look at it in another way. In Eastern Europe, you found that the deprivation of political and economic power on the part of people there led to environmental abuses that are among the worst in the entire world. It's the same basic phenomenon. Where there is powerlessness, the people who live in a particular area are less able to assert their own preferences to be free of this environmental abuse. Political and economic freedom are prerequisites for a sound approach to protecting the environment. That's why I've always believed that around the world, the promotion of freedom is something that is essential for many reasons, but essential in order to protect the environment as well.
Do you expect that the United States now, the new administration, will be able to give the Russians a hand here? They probably need an international action of some kind. They say themselves, we can't clean up this mess alone.
My own view is that we should help. We are beginning to help already, especially with the task of dismantling nuclear warheads and ensuring safe procedures for withdrawing nuclear weapons from the republics outside of Russia and dismantling the delivery systems. I also believe that we should provide assistance, especially in the form of expertise and consulting on the best ways to handle these terrible environmental problems. And incidentally, in addition to the nuclear waste issues, we have the issue of the many dozens of nuclear reactors that were built from essentially the same blueprints as the Chernobyl reactor. this problem must also be addressed not only by Russia, but with the active assistance of other nations who can help them address the problem.
I have a difficult time believing that we can really change the American attitude, because during your campaign, environmental issues were considered radical politics, and I think you had a nickname of the Ozone Man. Do you really think we can change America's way, or do you think America is willing to sacrifice or give up the convenience of our lifestyle to help the world out or deal with these serious problems?
Well, it's true that during the campaign I was labeled Ozone Man, but a majority voted for Bill Clinton and Ozone Man. And the polls indicated that the positions we took on the environment were very helpful during the election campaign, and I think that measures a changing attitude on the part of many Americans and a deeper appreciation for the need to protect the environment.
I would like to return to a very specific problem that worries a great many people, and that is the resumption, perhaps, of nuclear weapons testing, and the fear that this might, if you start in the United States, might make the Russians start blowing off things up there in Novaya Zemlya again. Could you say something about that, what we have to expect?
Well, we have an opportunity to take a new approach to that issue. I'm quite well aware that the Russian suspension is geared to the moratorium, that the 9-month moratorium that we voted in the Congress last year, and that will be reviewed very carefully during the first months of the Clinton-Gore administration. No decision has been made. The necessity of assuring the safety of these devices is not an inconsequential matter. It has to be respected. The importance of continuing this moratorium must also be weighed in the balance. We'll be reviewing that very carefully. I'm not in a position to announce a decision in this interview, but it's a matter that we'll be looking at very carefully.
You're learning, Bob.
What's the name of this lake, Eric?
The name? I'm not sure. I think it's Norway Lake. You know, at least there's a Norway Lake around here somewhere.
Norway Lake, that's a good one.
Well, you didn't like that one, huh? Well, you must remember one thing, that there are 1,000 lakes in Minnesota, and most of them have kept their old Indian names. You have to have a heart, man, and let me feel at home here with using the name that the early settlers gave to it, huh? You can do that for me, can't you?
Well, yeah, I guess might as well. You would have named it anyway.
Well, you got everything here. Got minna tonka, minna ha-ha, minna hoo-hoo, and whatever. So let's call it Norway Lake.
You talk about your tribe almost like an Indian would talk about his tribe.
Well, maybe anybody will turn a bit tribal when they're far away from their homeland. And I feel very close to the people buried here, just like you do when you would visit the Apache graveyard near Fort Sill there. But after all, tribalism is in now, isn't it? It's the latest fad. Look over in Europe, they're breaking up into small units, tribes, fighting each other all over the place, spilling blood. At least we're trying to be retrospective and sensible about it all. Just go over here, I'll show you something. Now, this might interest you, Bob. This woman here, Guri Anderson, Rossalan, was acclaimed a heroine by the state of Minnesota for her activities during the Indian Wars here. What she did was to rescue some wounded settlers and get them into safety. And she did not like to be called a heroine herself. She said she did the normal thing. The state of Minnesota put up this monument, I don't know when, probably in the 60s. And you'll notice one thing that the Indians, I'm sure, will not like. It says that she did all this during the Indian massacres here. They use the word massacre.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that word massacre for people who are just trying to drive foreigners out of their country.
Yeah. I don't think that word would be used today. To Dovre Township, that's the name of this place. Dovre is a very meaningful word to all people at home. It's the name of a mountain, actually, a very symbolic mountain. And if it had been an Indian mountain, I'm sure you would have called it a sacred mountain. But this little place here was a real far-off white outpost in 1862. These were some of the very first white people to come out in this country. And they lived in very neighborly relations with the local Indians around here. They had no trouble with each other. And in fact, when war broke out, the local Indians here did their best to protect the white neighbors. But when Little Crow came here,